Welcome to NorthWest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Chris Bornstead and Kyle Torgeson in studio. We also, if you notice, have Mayor Don Jensen and Everett here from Unique 10 who've joined us on the broadcast today. Before we get into talking about Unique 10, Kyle, hit us with a great weather report. What's happening out there?
Rain, Kevin. Rain's happening. But not today. Today is going to be a high of 86 and a low of 55. It's going to be partly cloudy. But the rain's happening Saturday and Sunday.
I think you're
Wait
wrong.
a minute. Wait a minute.
They've moved that. That's not true. They
Wait a
moved
minute.
it
Are
to
you
Sunday
getting
and
weather
Monday.
reports from out of the area
No.
again?
Saturday is not going to be raining. They've moved that to Sunday and Monday.
Okay, so
There can be
so
no
this is,
rain on Saturday.
this has been our experience following this forecast here. Whenever they put AM showers or PM showers, you get a little bit of sprinkle in the beginning part of the day, and it's otherwise a gorgeous day out. So that's kind of a misleading thing in terms of rain for the day. But
I'm just the messenger.
you're just the
He's
messenger.
just the weather
Well,
guy. I mean,
isn't-
how often
See,
is the
how
weather
did
guy
what do
right?
they say? Kill the messenger? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's it.
No matter, it's going to go on anyway. So
I'm in danger.
Yes, that is right. Well, anyhow, get that weather off of the screen and let's bring up the poster for Unique 10. We have a big car show and cruise coming up. This is actually going to be at the Cowlitz County Expo Center, but you guys do all kinds of outside stuff, and there's a little parade going to be in town, right?
Parade.
Are you doing a little parade?
Yeah, they're
'Cause
going to parade the cars down 15th
Wait,
Avenue about 6
wait.
p.m.
Let's get the nomenclature right here. We're doing a car cruise on Saturday
car
night.
cruise. Never mind. Okay.
That's what I said. Yeah, you guys
Yes,
are going to
yes.
parade the cars down 15th Avenue.
In a cruise. All right. So you're going to cruise Commerce and 15th?
No, just 15th
Just
Avenue.
15th Avenue.
From the hospital down to Broadway and then around the Civic Center
Okay.
and back.
And back out on
Closed
15th.
loop, yeah.
Very
But
nice.
most of the day, all day long, the cars will be out over at the fairgrounds and displayed for everybody to come look at. No touching. But you can look.
9 o'clock in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon when they have the trophies.
Let's talk about the history of this show because this has gone on for a long time. How did it get started? 44 years ago, I understand.
Well, this is our first year, so we don't know.
started out as a swap meet,
Okay.
and then it grew into a car show. And I think we have 2 charter members left,
Yeah, I
maybe
think.
3, and it just grew.
Mm-hmm.
Grew and it grew and it grew.
Well, and it's kind of interesting that, it takes a lot of money to make this thing go.
Yeah.
And to rent the fairgrounds and all the other things that happen. And so when the car club originally got started, we didn't have the money to put on a show.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the members stepped up, Connie Crandall, and the reason we're here is because he paid for that first one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we got started.
That's awesome.
Well, it's like I told you guys, we always chat with our guests before the show, and I thanked you guys as a longtime resident of Longview. As long as I can remember, every year we did Unique 10 and we come over to the fairgrounds. We missed a few years here now and there.
Oh, shame on you.
I know. You can't make them all. But I really appreciate that you guys do this every year. Because cruising is something that was shut down as I was still able to cruise in Longview and was still able to be into cars like this up until I was a senior in high school, and that's when they shut down the cruising in Longview. But this event is something that is just great. That lets kids and everybody else look at muscle cars and know that they can build a car of their own someday. And all the activities you guys have there are just great. And of course, every year we love the cruise. I mean, it's the best part.
Well, it's rather interesting to me, and I don't know if it would be to your audience, but I had cars, and the reason that I got into politics was because of hot rods.
Really?
The city wanted to shut down cruising completely.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time I was Unique 10's president, and they said, you need to speak at the council meeting because, we don't want cruising to end. Come to find out they couldn't do it anyway. But at any rate, so I get up there and I made my spiel and I sit down and I'm sitting next to my brother-in-law. And he's really a quick wit anyway. And I looked up there and I said, you know, any idiot can do that job. And he said, why don't you give it a try? So I did. And the rest, I guess, is history.
So now you're the idiot. Doing
Yeah,
the job.
I'm the one, and thanks a lot.
Yeah. Well, you just kind of opened the door there. I just kind of had to go through
Straight
it, so.
man, but I'm
Yeah. Yeah. So hey, a little heads up for people. The official event starts on Saturday, which is August 25th. But on Friday evening, you already have some. It looks like a pizza and beverage party starting at 6 o'clock. Who all is invited to this? Is it just all the show people or
Pre-registered cars
pre-registered cars?
are entitled to a pizza party from 6 to 7 Friday night.
Okay.
They're the people that actually pay the first to get all the bills paid, and
Absolutely.
then we just earmark a little money for the next year, and so it's usually sold out by Saturday morning.
Fantastic. How many total cars can people expect to see? Just a rough
We
guess.
can't tell you that.
I can tell you from past experiences of attending that whole field over there where they set up the equipment and stuff like that and the rides for the fair.
Carnival grounds, they call it.
That whole area will be filled with cars along with the parking lot. And I mean, there's no way they could give you a number unless they actually counted the entries, but it is
And
a
we do
large
keep
number.
track, and it's on the grounds, usually 500 to 600 vehicles.
Well,
We have had more, and we have had a little less. But
it's absolutely worth a day trip to Longview to come and spend the day here.
And we'll have some food booths over there on Saturday. I know that the Moose Lodge will be doing their delicious hamburgers again, and I think we have a barbecue.
Barbecue.
I think the Lions are bringing over their ice cream wagon, and there's some other things.
Kettle corn.
Kettle corn. There'll be food. We have music by, who's that? Music and More?
Yep. Scott.
Yeah, and
It looks like, and this is a popular one for the guys. You know, everybody loves this one, and everybody always talks about this one on the online social media sites. Is the Miss Unique 10 Pinup Contest. I don't see a time on what time it starts here. Do you guys?
that's usually around 3:30.
About 3 o'clock. So
Yeah.
you know the Miss Unique 10 Pinup Contest is going on tomorrow, and I think I spoke with you on the phone this morning and said you guys will take more entries if there's people out there that would like to do that.
Absolutely.
You said give the secretary a phone call. Do you know that number off the top of
You
your
can
head?
call that number. It's on the poster.
Either one
So
of them.
if
one
you're
of them.
looking at wanting to get into the pinup contest, if you call 636-1969 or 577-0111.
Kyle, go ahead and put those up on the live stream too. Again, that number 360-577-0111 and the other number 360-636-1969. 1969.
And you can come over there and sign up anytime before it starts. And, and there's a little history to that, too. We used to do a swimsuit contest. And
You were the one who headed that up, I suppose.
No.
That was very popular.
We wanted to turn it into a more family-oriented event, and the gals to win were getting a little more risque. And we said that really doesn't fit with what we do with the charities that we do and the things. And so somebody came up with the idea, well, let's do it pinup, like nose art off of the bombers and that sort of thing. And that's really turned into a huge thing.
Oh,
Those
man.
gals, they dress up in their, they're like Rosie the Riveter and that sort of
that's
thing.
awesome.
Oh God, it is just
It's
amazing.
perfect for a car show. You guys
Yeah.
did that was brilliant. So
We will make sure that one or all of us gets over there on Saturday, and we'll live stream that Miss Unique pinup. for
yeah, my wife's
everybody
like,
there.
we're going to the garlic festival. Should I head us this weekend? I was like, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
We're going this Unique 10 weekend. What are you talking about?
Talk about a little bit about the planning behind all of this. You mentioned Don here's the main man. You're the encyclopedia
He
apparently
just
on
tells
the
me what to do.
on the whole event. How many people you got working here with you guys? To
Wait
help
a minute,
pull this
wait a
off?
minute, wait a minute. Let's back up because Everett's a liar. Everett is the heart and soul of this thing, and the rest of us are just worker bees. He's the event chairman. He's the guy.
I got a lot of
Gotcha.
good help, though. That's important.
So how many people does it take to put together an event where you got 500-600 cars show up?
It takes all 38 of us, but we only have about 6 that really do anything.
Like every
Sounds
club.
like about
Like every
everything
club,
else.
yeah.
Just they want to, but I think they're just afraid to. They're afraid to, just like anything. They don't want to get involved. So
Did we talk about the beer gardens?
We did.
It looks
But
like
before you
there's
go
gonna
there,
be
we
beer
picked up a lot of new members.
yeah,
Our club was getting a bunch of old farts like Everett,
Yep.
and young guys like me.
Yep.
And at any rate, so we were starting to lose members and so on. And so we've had a concerted effort to grow our club with some younger folks, and it's worked out.
yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
Hasn't worked out yet, but it's working.
So you've had a conservative effort with a lot of liberal benefits for coming in. So like you're kind of appealing to both parties that way.
Trying to.
What the heck did he say?
This is another one of my bad jokes.
I didn't want to get into that one, so I just said,
So, beer garden at 6 o'clock. Is that over at the fairgrounds as well?
The beer garden goes all day.
It does go all day.
And that's that's one of the things we do. We farm that out, and what's the fellow that has the beer permit over at the Expo Center? His name escaped me. Anyway, the guy that does the food and everything at the Expo Center.
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know
Yeah.
his name. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
So he's running the beer
Friends
garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a charity too. He does it. Maybe it doesn't sound right,
Mike
but
Casada.
it's
There you go.
Casada. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Mike Casada.
they have been doing it for kids baseball.
Oh, awesome.
The profits, and so that's another one of the charities that we do.
that's all we do is charities. We support this whole community as like probably nobody else does for the little we put into it.
Now, of all these vehicles that show up, and I know you have vehicles yourself. I've seen you hot rod around town, all that kind of good stuff. You guys have some favorites in this show? Like some favorite cars or favorite
cars.
Well, it's interesting because people want to know how we pick the winners.
Yeah.
Because what cars are your favorites? Well, we don't. Because we, on purpose, don't want to pick them because it's a pain in the, to try it. There's so many
I
beautiful
thought we were
cars.
friends.
Yeah. And so your next door neighbor, you didn't pick me. So anyway, what we do is we go out and we sell trophy sponsorships. And for $75, you can sponsor a trophy. And then you come over, and I'm in charge of trophies, and I'll give you a form, and you go out and make all your neighbors unhappy because you picked somebody else's car.
I can see why he's the mayor.
And,
You figured out how to shed that one off.
but it really works out excellent because you have you might have a pickup come through that I would not even looked at, but somebody had one in high school. So they picked it. And so it gets a more rounded, you don't have the $80,000 cars driving through. One year there was a guy that had a blue Dart that he was in high school, and he had painted it with a rattle can, and he was so proud of that car that I gave him a trophy.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
In construction.
Yeah.
We have actually a question from one of our viewers, from Michael. He's asking if there will be cars there that are for sale, finished or project cars.
Both.
Both. You'll have both out there. So you will have an opportunity to purchase those cars that are in project and the ones that are completed.
I think we have a one section. What is it? $15, Everett?
Yeah, $15 to sell your
put
car.
your car in, and we have a section up on the back that you can park your car with. For
So it's a
sale
good
sign.
weekend to go hot rod shopping as
Yeah.
well then too.
We might back up real quick on those trophies. We don't give out trophies. We give out trophy coats.
We do.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I've been doing that for about.
You've
15
been doing
years.
it all wrong. But
And he's right. We do. We have a custom jacket made for each winter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Trophy sits in the closet. Nobody enjoys that.
Yeah, and the jacket is out in the community.
And it's kind of
people see it,
self-serving too, because you end up with a nice jacket that you can wear, and we end up with advertising from the we put that year's poster or art on the back of it.
Sponsors love it.
Yeah.
And the sponsors, they get their name on the front crest, and so it's an all-around good thing. It really works out well.
Don thought of that too.
Another good idea.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of ideas.
Well,
Thanks, Ev.
bring up this red cart that we were looking at earlier, because I want to talk about the paint job on this vehicle real quick. Yeah, let's bring that one up. So there's a little story behind the young lady in the picture, Don. If you would, go ahead and share that first, and then we'll have some conversation about that.
If this is the right car, and I'm pretty sure it is, that car belonged to the gal that's sitting in the car's son, and he was killed in the military. And so she takes it out and shows it. She's won several trophies with it. It's a beautiful car.
Oh,
So we were having conversation about paint jobs like this, and you look at this car, and it's mirror finish from bumper to bumper. What does this cost to get done?
The average paint job now that is really high quality is $20,000 to $30,000.
That is.
If you pull your car in and drive it out.
It's more than that.
Yeah, they can be.
Yeah.
but you guys, you got to realize you're getting something that looks like that.
That is incredible,
Yes.
though, when you think about that, because when you start thinking about, like what vehicles like this are worth,
Yeah.
and you pour that kind of money into them, just unreal.
Oh, you should see, some of these cars at auction when they're sold. I mean, these things don't sell cheap anymore. You remember you used to be able to pick up a Mustang for $3,000 or $4,000 and fix it up. Now you're looking at, they're pretty much all, most of them are done anyway now, and you're going to pay $60,000, $70,000 for that car now, and it's just incredible.
So this ties into something we were talking about on the show here in the last few days, and that is about vocational centers and about kids in high school getting training on how to do this kind of stuff. You mentioned that you do a lot of your painting of a lot of your cars yourself. Where did you pick up the skills?
Johnny Green in auto trades at Arlong High School. That's, I tried to get at least C's, sometimes D's, so I could play sports. And one of the easy classes seemed to be auto trades, and so I did that, and it kind of caught on. My
point with that is that obviously in the day when you were in school, you had an opportunity to get that kind of training. We were sharing here last Wednesday, when I was in high school, I got an opportunity to take some auto body, some mechanics courses. I took some architectural drafting. We even built a house in construction trades from ground to top, and we had licensed people in the trades: electrical, heating, cooling, plumbing. But that became kind of a framework later for a lot of construction that I did in my lifetime. But I think about, even the metal shop and the welding, skills that I had when I came out of high school.
Yeah.
And you look at how some of the graduates today, if they don't know how to operate a controller, there's probably not a job. They don't come out of school with skills anymore.
No.
And so this skill for you, learning how to paint, when you talk about, the value of one of these kind of paint jobs, if you're in the process of building a hot rod for yourself, there's a ton of money that you can save because you can paint the car yourself and put that into the engine or other areas of the car.
Well, I'm all for the high schools having some sort of trades that they can look at. Let me get my soapbox for a minute here.
Absolutely.
They hand the teachers a book, and they say, teach this. And they don't have time to do woodworking, automobile mechanics, welding, any of that sort of thing. And I think it's a darn shame that the kids can't, maybe they don't like body work anymore, and they try this and turn into a carpenter, but they do have a trade.
Yeah.
They used to teach students how to balance their checkbook. Things like that, and all that's gone the wayside because they have This book, the teachers say, today you teach that. Takes all the incentive away from the teachers, and it takes the good things away from the students.
I saw something pretty neat, a story out of this week out of, I think it was Colorado, where they're taking, I think it was either Monday or Friday off. They're just going to 4 days a week during for school. And, you know, that's kind of a neat idea. And it'd be kind of neat to see something like that here. But on that day that they take off, I think it would be interesting if the kids had to go to some type of vocational training through the school on that day off, where you get this day off, we aren't going to teach you academics, we're going to teach you how to do something. And that, you know, that might be something that we could look at up here. Just a thought for the future.
I want to go back to something with Unique 10 and coming up here on the 25th. Do you guys need volunteers for anything in the event? If somebody's watching today and said, hey, would like to show up and help with something, do you need any volunteers?
We'd have to teach them what to do, and that'd take longer than having one of them.
So that's a no on the volunteer end.
That's a no on the volunteers.
Volunteers, I love volunteers, but that's up to Ev. He's the event chairman. But
Probably not at this time.
Yeah.
It's too early. I mean, it's ready. I mean, we're ready for everything, and then to have them come in, you'd have to show them and teach them and walk them around, and we just don't have time for that right now. But
So down here on the bottom of this poster, are these your sponsors for
Yes,
the
sir.
big sponsors? If you would, Kyle, go back to that poster, bring it back up on the screen, and scroll down to the bottom here so we can take a look at the sponsors listed. So for Unique 10 is Unique RV Center, Biscotti Inc., Longview Auto and Tire, Advanced Auto Parts, Sterling Honda, and Columbia Auto Group. A lot of car associated businesses here.
yeah,
So good stuff.
this Biscotti's fairly new. They're down on Industrial Way. They're building hot rods.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, if you take your car down, they'll work on it. And who do we have as doing the T-shirts, our staff shirts?
can't think of his name.
It's one of the auto parts stores.
Advanced.
Advanced Auto Parts or Advanced?
No. Anyway, we have one of the auto parts. They buy our shirts for
Napa.
No, not Napa.
Dale got them, didn't he?
No.
Our staff shirts?
Yeah. I just picked them up too.
They're really busy, you guys.
Yeah.
They got a lot on their
I
minds.
can't believe. But at any rate, they get their name on the back of all the staff shirts for us walking around, and
That's not cheap, so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool deal. there.
Yeah, it
Oh,
is.
the sponsors have been so good.
they have.
Yeah,
They've
well,
been
like I
really
said,
good to us.
This event is just, I mean, it's super fantastic every year, you guys. It's just
What's
great.
good about it, you just go up to them and say, I'm back this year. Are you in? Oh, absolutely.
We're in.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, they put it on. I mean, they pay for the brunt of everything, and they need more recognition than they get. But how do you do that without spending more money and taking the money away from charities? So you got to do what you got to do.
And mentioning charities, we don't blow our horn much about that, but what we do is we put this on, and the monies that are generated, we take and we give away, other than enough to get started the next year. We our big one, I guess, is hospice. We've given a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars to the
That's
to
awesome.
hospice.
Those are great people over
Yeah,
there.
they are.
so.
Aren't they?
If you would, Kyle, bring the schedule back up here for the 25th. So we'll just recap this here before we get these guys out of here. They're chomping at the bit to go do things.
We're not
apparently.
chomping.
Yeah.
We're ready for lunch.
Yeah, ready for lunch.
The only reason we're here, they said you guys would buy. So.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, Kevin said something about barbecue or
Wait,
juniors.
yeah,
I can't
12?
remember which was.
Twirls barbecue?
I don't know who's coming to barbecue.
Oh man.
So just a recap of the events. August 25th, show starts at 9 a.m. in the morning. Cruise starts at 6 p.m. And there's a beer garden there as well. The Unique 10 Miss Unique 10 pickup. Well, there's
it's
a
easy for
Pinup.
you to
Come on,
say.
now.
Miss Unique 10 pinup.
pickup. All right.
Kevin
All
didn't
these-
do his vocal
Yes.
exercises.
Yeah.
Miss Unique 10 pinup contest.
We finally got
starts
him on
around
something.
3 o'clock. And for anybody who wants to still get into that event, there's openings to do so.
They can sign up at the event.
Yeah,
18 years of age and older is the only requirement there. And it says driver's license ID required day event.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Saturday swap meet, 10 by 15 stall in swap meet area, $5 each. And the young rodder class age 18 and younger must be your car. So you have like a little swap meet there as well.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
If there's a part you can't find, a hood ornament, who knows what for your car, it might be there.
It's not great big. We got probably 50, 60 vendors. It's
A lot
real
of
popular.
good stuff.
Getting bigger.
Yeah, you would definitely walk out of this event if you couldn't find your part. You're going to walk out of this event knowing where to find your part.
Yeah. And that young rodder, Bill Castle from Castle Machine, is the one that sponsors that trophy every year, and he's been doing that for quite a while. He's
Years.
really into the youth of the community.
That car has to be built by them, the young rodder. It's not you or me going building a car and give it to my kid. That we don't like that. So Bill stepped up and said, "I want to do a young rodder award." So it's been really popular.
I really like that idea.
It
Thank you for
really
doing
is
that.
a good
yeah.
thing. A lot of high school kids, they like it too.
Yeah, you guys, when I was younger, we were drag stripping it out by fiber, drag stripping it out by Reynolds. The unique tins of younger years.
Oh, yeah.
We would be pouring the water on the street.
I don't know how much time you got, but I'm working on another project with somebody for the drag strip up at Tootle.
Yeah.
I want to do Reynolds Road Revival. And anybody that wants to go up there, run what you brung. And so if you want to challenge your buddy to race like it used to be out at Reynolds Road, you go up there, it'll be in a safe place, it'll be on the track, and you can do grudge races, you can do...
Is this on the drift track?
No, on the drag strip up at Tootle. They have a full drag strip up there.
I knew that they had a motorcycle area, and then across from it,
Oh, they've got a
drift
really
track.
nice
They got a
drag
good
strip.
drag- It's only an eighth mile.
So when are you thinking of doing that?
Well, we don't know. We're trying to work it in, and it may not even happen this year, but we hope so.
If this does happen, can we come live stream that event for you guys? Because that's
I don't
something
see
I
why
would love.
But
Yeah.
so you've got, my wife. I told her I'd fix it. I bought a '69 Roadrunner in '69, parked it in '79, and it's still sitting there in dry storage. That's so you get a '69 Roadrunner, and Everett brings one of his junkers out. And
Junkers. I hear a challenge.
Yeah.
This sounds like a challenge, you
that's
guys.
where it was going.
And it's on air too.
Yeah.
Must be answered.
Yeah, it must be.
I just thought it'd be a neat thing, and it's kind of falls in with Unique 10 and
I really think it
the
sounded
old
like a neat
cars,
thing.
and so you go up there and they have a little. I like that Reynolds
cool.
Road Revival. I
You got
just
to
thought
get the
that-
car done first.
I'm on the,
I
I'm
just
on
think
the
that-
advisory committee to do the ordinances for the racetracks here in the county.
Oh,
I actually have a meeting for that tomorrow afternoon. So do you guys have any advice on that? Kick that my way.
Fantastic. All right, well, we're going to roll a video piece of one of the cruises from years past here. So we'll play that here on Northwest Digital News. Stay tuned.
Green salad up, a green salad down. Last on the stalk, got a tail of brown. Green salad up, a green salad down. Last on the stalk, got a tail of brown. Green salad up, a green salad down. Last on the stalk, got a tail of brown. Tail of brown. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, tail of brown. Up, down,
so there's some video footage on the Unique 10 show done some time ago. And who is actually the person who put that video up? Is it
Rain Stone?
Rain Stone?
Yeah,
Rain
whoever you are, that was a super, super fantastic video. Great job.
Well done. Very well done.
Heck yeah. Talking about well done things here, Kevin.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get Kyle to bring up something real quick that I caught on social media the other day and shared around.
Oh.
And
Is this around the young gal by the name of Taylor?
Yes, her name is
Okay.
Taylor. You guys, I'm sorry, I don't know, according to the post, what her last name is. And there's been a lot of confusion up to this point on this incident because the girl who pushed the girl off the bridge's name is Taylor as well. Mm-hmm. And the girl that saved her's name was Taylor. So some people are getting confused. But go ahead and Kevin, I found this. I posted it online. I shared it on all of the social media sites that I could find. But I didn't know if you'd had an opportunity to read it.
Yeah, I got a chance to look at it. So so people know what we're talking about. There was a young girl who was pushed off a bridge and very easily could have drowned. This could have ended in catastrophe very easily.
Well, it kind
I
of did.
believe she broke 5 ribs, punctured lung.
Yeah.
She also had air trapped inside.
If this gal would not have been down at the bottom of where she was at, chances are this girl probably wouldn't have made it. So this girl is a hero.
And this girl's name is also Taylor.
Correct.
The young. Do we have the name of the young gal who was pushed off the bridge?
Probably. I will find it.
She's from
Jordan. Jordan was pushed off the bridge.
Yes. Okay, so this picture below here, and that I'm aware of, Taylor's this quiet girl who really kind of didn't want any attention around this and credit, but great act of heroism, in my opinion. And she saw the girl get pushed off the bridge. She dove into the water and got her to shore. And the injuries that she sustained from the... Wow.
Yeah, and the girls are friends. I mean, they've been friends for a long time, it sounds like. Or the girl that has made the post here. And she just wanted to give her friend some credit for... because everybody's focusing on the negative, like, who's going to jail and that evil person can't believe that. And nobody is focusing on the hero of the story, which is this girl here. I mean, without her, this could have ended even more tragically than what it did. Mm-hmm. And so I am glad that we have people like this in our community, and I look forward to her doing more great things, because all you can do is go is up.
Well done, Taylor. You're the hero on Northwest Digital News for the day, whether you were looking for that credit or not.
No, you're going to get it because you are awesome.
Well deserved.
Yep.
Too bad.
Yes.
We like calling people out for the good things they do.
We just like calling people
All right,
out.
so there's another story that you found, Chris, that we wanted to...
I didn't actually read it. It just kind of goes along with what our last shows have been about the tiny trade school Ivy outperforming top 4-year colleges.
Now, this is in terms of salary potential.
Yeah.
Yes, so check that out, guys. Trade schools beating out the Ivy League schools, colleges, in terms of universities. So getting a degree or background through the trade school versus at the Ivy League school. Income potential-wise, they're beating out these colleges. Oh, that is just fantastic.
But just more evidence and more supporting of why we need to focus more on some trade schools and stuff like that. I mean, these schools are outperforming the top 4-year colleges.
Mm-hmm. Now, show a little bit of this story, because have you guys been? Have you ever been in Pittsburgh before?
No.
This is actually a really, really unique city. Like the downtown area of Pittsburgh, there is tons and tons of cobblestone down there. It is a really kind of a unique area to walk in, because it's like being in Holland or some of the other cities where they use a lot of cobblestone.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's actually really on the first time I was in Pittsburgh, seeing all of this cobblestone was admittedly a little bit of a disappointment for me initially, because I was there on a trip with a little-known company, actually a well-known company at the time, Rollerblade, the inline skate company, and we were there for a 3-day event that the company was sponsoring, and I'm looking for places to skate. Cobblestone is not good for inline skates.
I could see that.
I was like, oh my gosh, like look at all of these surfaces. Everything's cobblestone. It was really cool. But one of the schools here, this is actually a hangar that was in, for storing an airplane in Pittsburgh. And gal here saw potential with it along with others, and they decided to open that place up and make it available for people to not only restore some aircraft that had been grounded there for a long time, but learn something about the aviation industry from a hands-on perspective. You know, we've had conversation about the return of manufacturing jobs and those coming back in our country. I really hope our leadership around the country recognizes this. And we just had Mayor Jensen in town as well, talking about some of his background, getting vocational training in high school and how that's helped him with painting cars still today. And I'm sure there's a lot of stories of people who are actually in the trades in Don's age and younger, but people that are in the trades and they're there and have made the kind of money they currently are, or had careers in those fields because of what they learned at high school level. And I really hope people start to get on board with this and push back, because you know what, if people don't think this is important, just research vocational training in the country of China, and what you'll find out over there ought to scare the dickens out of you.
Well, just from this article here, right here, Kevin, it's working here in the U.S.
It's working here in the U.S.
So, yes, I mean, you know, I'm not a huge fan of doing things that other people do, because we do that a lot here in our area. But when something like this, where it actually works, why wouldn't we want to? I mean, just come on, you guys, let's get this done. Let's do something. Let's get it going.
So here's the CEO, Suzanne Markle, who says, higher ed hasn't thought about what the end game is for students. And that's actually really, really true. I've been associated with various universities in the past, and when they brought in people like us on their advisory boards to help graduating students and talk about what they were going to do outside of college, I was just stunned by how few of them had any plans.
Yeah,
wow. So she says, that's all we think about in the vocational center. Bachelor's degrees and other terminal degrees are great if you know what to do and if there's a need for it. But this CEO Suzanne Markle is explaining that in the vocational center, in these vocational trainings, there is an end game, and it's all they think about. And it's what they're planning on from the very get-go of that.
Oh, it is. I mean, these guys, when like, again, my son went to Perry Tech this year, and already has a job. I mean, he had an opportunity to do several jobs. But the employers, they look for these kids, and when they're graduating. I mean, a lot of employers, they will just go to Perry Tech and they'll be like, okay, so we know that your kids have to spend some time in the field. We're here. We're going to offer them these jobs. You know, they throw them out there. And, you know, like our son had an opportunity to go work in Seattle for a couple of months. He didn't want to do that, but he just wanted to go right out into the workforce. So, you know, he's, like I said, he's already got a job, and he signed up for a job. He's down at the shipyards down in Portland. And they just pretty much told him they hired him on as, like an apprentice type of thing, where they're going to train him to do the job that they want to do. But because of the education that he already has, and the fact that they know that he went to a trade school and that he has hands-on training, they're already saying, you're overqualified for what we're doing right now. But they're still working on it. And it's crazy. I mean, I thought it was going to take him forever to find a job, and it just didn't.
That's why I really like vocational schools, like Perry Tech specifically, because they only teach things that are in demand. If something's not in demand, they won't teach it at all. Right. They won't offer it.
Welding, nursing, instrumentational tech, kind of stuff like that. So yeah, it's great.
Colleges, colleges and universities, they teach, a wide variety of things, whether it's in demand or not. But vocational schools is just, this is in demand, we're doing it. Right. That's it.
To go along with what you're saying, basically, though, is that when you go to like LCC, they have people that are watching those students for jobs, but not like they do when they're at the trade schools. I mean, these guys, these employers that are getting these trade kids, they're like salivating at the mouth because they want workers and they want good, educated workers. And so they seek these kids out that are in the trade schools, and they get them. It's you know, they don't. For the love of God, why didn't they have this stuff when I was younger? You know what I mean?
It's not like a want; it's a need. They need it.
Right. Yep. So just think about talking about welding. I mean, what is going on in the South? A lot of rebuilding.
Yes.
So, you know, they need workers. You know, I mean, that's originally where he was going to go. He was going to go try to find a job down in the South doing rebuilding because we encouraged him to leave the Longview, Kelso area because of how our economy is and how things are here in our area right now. We've encouraged all of our kids to find another place to live when they graduate. So we would love for them to stay here, but we just have too many people that won't allow jobs to come into this area and want to keep us poor and dependent on government services. So
that actually is a very sad truth for somebody who's out there like shaking their head like, no, Chris is just saying that. The facts demonstrate 0.7% growth over 30 years. That's pretty pathetic.
Wait, Kevin, can you say that again? Can you say that again?
0.7% growth over 30 years is pathetic.
Again, it's because we have a small group of people here, and they're usually called progressives and liberals, and they just kill any industry basically that wants to come here. They just kill it. They find it's like they go out and they find reasons to kill it. It's just like they want to keep us poor and they want to keep us on the government dole because they will continue to get their funding.
Just in the last few days, I've had conversations with citizens here in this community who have been adamantly against any of these developments that are leading towards jobs in our community. Do you know what the average age of these people complaining to me about the development of jobs? You know what the average age was?
55 and older?
If you said 55, that'd actually be very young. I didn't talk to anybody who is that young.
Oh,
56.
North.
Okay, let's go with 75.
Yeah, 75 to 85 years of age in there. Oh, man, we can't be having all these people. Look what they're wanting to do, and they're destroying our community, and we got to leave it better than we found it, and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, wow, Mr. Mrs. Retirement. Yeah.
Can we just...
Here's my hopes, you guys. And I'm putting a lot of stock in this, and I probably shouldn't, because I'm sure somewhere along the lines our governor will try to stop it or kill it or end it, whatever. But Donald Trump the other day announced that they were going to make it easier to be able to start doing logging and managing our forests better. And if we can get that going, I believe that will bring some jobs back into our area, because we have a lot of forest land out there that really needs to be thinned before we have our own little fire that just completely goes nuts. Because
all around the country, Mother Nature is taking care of that problem right now.
And you guys, I've posted several videos online for people who don't understand the forest practice of maintaining our forests and why we need to go in and do controlled burns and take out the dead trees and stuff like that. And that's so that we can not lose everything that we have by not maintaining them. To your point, Chris, when you mentioned about controlled burns, for people who think that that's either not an effective strategy or it's not even a possible strategy in a given kind of situation. In northern Minnesota, in years past, I owned 40 acres, a portion of which was wooded. And do you know that every single year, like my brother's done some work with control burns with the DNR. I've also done several control burns and stuff like that myself. I burn that property, the entirety of the property, every single spring. And you have to thin it out every year. You have to manage your land.
And it kept the land beautiful. It was lush and green throughout the spring and the summer and going into the fall. And you'd have a little, even if with me doing this control burn every single year, there was always plenty of stuff to burn and clean up in the.
Just to give you guys an example of the videos that I posted, one of the videos I posted, and I think it's on my personal page if you guys want to go check it out. a controlled burn back east, and they were talking about the benefits to the wildlife. And after that they do control burn, it gets all of those needles and pine cones and all of that, those dead tinder sticks that are just snap and catch on fire within seconds. It gets rid of all that, and it exposes the ground and all the seed that has fallen from the trees, all the seeds that have fallen from the blackberries, the salmon berries, all of that stuff then has an opportunity to grow, creating food for the wildlife. And something else that I would learn from a gentleman by the name of Mark Smith, who's very, very smart about Department of Fish and Wildlife stuff around here, that after we did the flash burns, and I learned this also from my hunting friends, is that you will catch the animals actually in the burned out area. And what they're doing is they're going out there into the charcoals areas of the forest, and they're getting that burnt charcoal stuff on their hooves, and it's providing and putting back nutrients into their hooves. And once we stopped doing these burns about 20 years ago under the Clinton administration, that's when the hoof rot in our area really started to take off. It's about 17, 18 years ago when we stopped doing these burns.
That's incredible.
So there's all kinds of benefits to actual proper forest management. And in one of the videos, again, that I posted, it talks about how we've managed our forests in the past, but it's kind of just like a mess because we haven't managed them the way that we were supposed to. People in California may not understand how to do it as well as people say like in Longview or Kelso, because we are a logging community and we always have been. So for people up here, it's really easy for some of us to understand why it's important to do this. But if you live out of this area or you're not familiar with forestry or logging or anything like that, it appears to them like you're just a moron for saying that we're going to go out and light the forest on fire to save the forest.
No, a controlled burn absolutely makes complete sense. And
right, but there's these people, they can't grasp the idea of that, and they can't understand the importance of it. And I even with it's laid out in front of them, some people think it's a terrible idea.
You mentioned the nutrients that go into the soil from a burn. Like I said, I had the most lush green piece of property there because I knew how to burn it, knew how to control the fires. It's from a really simple respect, you guys. Anything that you're concerned about burning, so like the home, the garage, the shed, like any of that kind of stuff, you do what's called back burn around it. So you go around the home. Use a wet gunny sack and what we had made these drip torches, and it was a mix of 3 parts diesel and 1 part gasoline. So it has some gas content in it. The drip torch looks a little bit like a watering can you'd use for your gardens, but of course it was a metal can. And so the fuel would drip out of the one end of it. You'd light that end of it, and we'd create this fire line with another person assisting with a wet gunny sack, and you put the fire out on the side of the house, like let's say you're back burning around the house. So we do that, and then we get like a 4-foot swath away from the house and then put that line out. So we created basically this burnt path that went all the way around the building. Right. Then we did the same thing to our other buildings and any trees we wanted protected and that sort of thing. And then you go to the downwind side of the piece of area that you're going to burn. You create a fire line there. The wind is going to push it, and so it's going to create a very slow back burn. And once that back burn has moved far enough where the combination of either the property line or the area that's been burned has created a big enough area that fire can't jump it and there's no fuel for it to burn, you then go on the upwind side and light it up there, and those two firewalls come together. Everything that you back burned around is protected, and you end up with an entire piece of property that's all cleaned up with fire. Yeah, and then just watch what happens over the next few weeks. This totally lush green area comes in. And you know what? Even in the backyard of my place here, we have this place where we've burnt a lot of wood and stuff like that. And I take this ash, because this is how I know how good it is for the grass and everything else. I take this ash and sprinkle it lightly all over the front yard of the house, and then, throw a little water on in the evenings, after the sun goes down. You guys got to come see my front yard. I guarantee if you pop a plane over that whole Columbia Heights area, it will be the only pure green plush place on that hillside.
It'll look like a drain field, right?
Yeah, it is totally... It is so rich green. We don't even have a color green in the studio to demonstrate, but it is totally rich green. And part of that is just the use of ash to bring the grass in that ridge.
Well, I hope
Kyle was just over there the other side. You see how green the front yard is?
It was so green.
it was so green. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, let's hope that we can get this logging thing going, because that'll provide some more jobs in our area. We'll be able to kind of reboot, I think, the timber industry in our area, and that's going to help. I mean, just thinning out in the timber, and something else. By striking up these conversations on my Facebook pages, I learned things from other people too in comments as well. And so we actually had somebody, I think his name is Jack Russell Thompson, who lives up a little bit north of us, and he does some fire management stuff like that. And then I think another guy named Eric Wingren also was commenting that these lands that we want to log, these people out here, these progressive liberals who think this is such a terrible idea and that we're just trying to make money for these people, these lands that are logged, that we're talking about logging and clearing out, those can't be exported. Those all of those, that timber has to be used here, and it has to be used for funding here. So, again, we aren't trying to thin our forests out and do proper forest management so that we can make money. That's just a benefit that we're going to get from it. But we've got to do this because, for the last 3 days, you guys, I don't even want to go outside. I get all plugged up and then my nose starts bleeding and I can't breathe right. And so I'm tired, we need to stop this from happening. Growing up around here all my life, even when they did the slash burns, even when we were still slash burning, it was never like this. It was never like it is today or the last 2 days. It was never that smoky. This is because we have ignored our stuff for such a long period of time because we were worried about spotted owls.
And wow, did they turn out to be wrong about that?
Yeah,
too.
It was another bird predator. But anyway, we won't talk about the mistakes that they made.
So I want to mention something real quickly because you tied into a subject that actually needs to be said here. You mentioned about going on Facebook and learning things from other people who have interactions. What's interesting is this mostly comes from the mainstream media and other places that really dislike that everyday citizens can have the kind of interaction that you're talking about online, and they think of that kind of information as bogus, unreliable, fake news, all this other kind of stuff being shared by people. And I want to give you guys a little bit of history of news, because there was a time when getting information out to people, or even politically elected leaders in areas getting information from their communities was next to impossible. There weren't phones, there weren't newspapers, there wasn't radio and TV. I'm talking about a number of years back. So there's a word that we use in our vocabulary all the time, which was actually 2 words years ago. And I'll share with you in just a moment what it is. But this was actually a strategy used by political leaders who would send people back into the communities and municipalities and have them visit with local people. And they would visit with enough local people, because everybody has a little different interpretation. Like if a cow ran down the main street and you ask every business person in town what happened, some of them didn't see it at all. Others saw a part of it. Some saw what happened on the north end. Others saw what happened on the south end. But if you talk to a few people, you'll learn what actually happened, won't you?
I'm sorry, but as soon as you said when a cow went down the road, all I could picture was that cow that ran down Ocean Beach Highway last summer.
There was a cow that ran down Ocean Beach.
As soon as you said that, my mind just went boom. And there was a million different stories online about it, just like what you said.
Okay, but the point is that there is a element of truth, what happened in front of that particular business in that story. Now, if you talk to enough people who were involved, who were there, you'll get the entirety of the story. So you know what elected leaders did years ago? They developed these lists of cities and areas that they wanted their representatives to go to learn what was actually going on in that community. And the title on these lists were Go Sip. Okay, and it was 2 words. And they were to go to the local taverns, to the local places, local restaurants, go sip ale or wine with the people that were out and about in the community who had come in off the fields or their farms or wherever. What they did, the blacksmith, end of his day, stops by the local tavern to have a drink on his way home, whatever. These representatives were given a go sip list in towns, counties, municipalities, wherever, to go find the local people and visit with them to find out what was going on in their communities. And then they would bring these lists back this information back to the elected leaders who would then make decisions based on what was going on in our country off of the gossip list, which today, that level of news is called gossip.
Nice.
So a very interesting little piece, but that was
It seemed to work for them, though,
reliable
right?
news. The so-called gossip was reliable news collected at a citizen level, not by mainstream media.
Now, for the back to the logging thing, everyone's like, but trees take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which slows down global warming. So if you're worried about, global warming and stuff, well, if the trees take all the carbon dioxide and takes the carbon, right? When people think of trees, they think, oh yeah, trees, roots. They don't really understand where most of the tree comes from. People think, oh, it's from the dirt. Well, it's not 100% from the dirt. It's also from the carbon they take in from the carbon dioxide, right? So when the carbon, since they're mostly carbon, trees are just mostly carbon, light them on fire, all that carbon goes back in the atmosphere. So all that smoke, all the wildfires are going on, all of that is producing carbon dioxide, I think methane gas. There's a lot of stuff there. It's not good for the environment. So if you actually, log it and then not burn it, that's actually helping the environment. And you just plant new stuff, and then that grows and gets all the other carbon out. And you got to get it before.
I'm glad you threw that in there about the replanting, because
Yes.
a lot of people think that they just go out there and they just start hacking things down. No, when they go out and they manage the forest, there's a saying that Washington State is known for, and that is if you take down one, you plant two. So that's something that I grew up believing, something that I was taught at a very young age, and that is what we do when we thin our forests. We just don't go out there and hack and cut, you guys. We actually replant. It's management. It's just like you would do in your yard when you pull the dead brush and the weeds and the crap out of your yard that you don't want. It's got to be done in our forest too. Before, man, I would imagine there was just these big forest fires and everything just burned because there was nobody to fight it or stop it.
By the way, when we were talking about global warming, and people have had a lot of different conversations around this, and I absolutely believe in global warming, and I absolutely believe in global cooling. It has happened about 10 times based on the scientific information, which most scientists agree on, has happened 10 times over the last 800,000 years. And we have very slowly cooled over about an 80,000 year time frame, and very rapidly warmed for over a 20,000 year time frame. And that's happened 10 times in the last 800,000 years.
Now, you know what you're talking about? You have to talk to people to get both sides of the information. You can even do that with politics, with left and right side, and find out, okay, so the right side's only talking about specific things that help them, the left side specifically for them. So if we take all of that combined, that's the news. That's the real information. You can do that. Now, global warming is a political issue, which is dumb. Now, if you talk to like progressives and liberals, global warming is a thing and it's going to happen fast. That is partly true.
And the message behind that is that's entirely created by man.
Yeah. Now, if you go on the right side, right, the Earth has gone up and gone down and gone up and gone down, and yes, we're at the peak of where it should be going down. Now, if you zoom in, we're going pretty fast up. Now, both sides are correct. It's happening, right? So if you zoom in, yeah, we are going up with carbon dioxide. Yeah, it's happening rapidly. But Earth also takes care of itself. So there's a bunch of carbon dioxide in the air, more plants, more growth. They absorb that. Next thing you know, global cooling. Both sides are correct. Look at both sides. Don't be like, okay, well, I listen to one side. That's the truth. That's it. Nothing else. I will not listen to you. You're dumb. Listen to both sides. Look at all the data.
The consequence of more carbon dioxide is faster plant growth. The consequence of lower carbon dioxide is slower plant growth. The two are absolutely intertwined. You can go into any university, study all you want on agriculture and everything else, and that's exactly what you're going to find.
In biology class, homeostasis, I believe it's homeostasis. It's basically when your body or any organism, like let's say you have a lot of blood sugar in your, right? So you create insulin. So you create insulin. So your body gets the blood sugar down lower, or you need enough so it doesn't produce it, so your blood sugar goes back to normal.
Glucagon.
Glucagon.
Yes.
Right? Wow, cool. your body regulates that, and that's not the only thing it regulates. Now, if you think about Earth, the Earth also regulates itself. Mm-hmm. It's been doing it for years. It happens. So,
you know, what's interesting is, to your point, Kyle, a short time ago, Commissioner Arne Mortensen was over in London, and he was attending, visiting various museums over there, and one of them is a well-established science museum, and he sent me a picture of this huge graph they have on the wall there that they've been tracking planet temperature over all these years, and these scientists have put together this thing. It's one of the most recognized sources about climate all around the world, and the chart we have visited about many times here on this broadcast about the 800,000 years of planet warming and cooling. It's right there in the London Science Museum, and Commissioner Mortensen shot me a picture of it because he goes, I thought you'd be interested to know that this is being shared in one of the world's foremost institutions around science and climate, and here it is right on the wall. And yeah, you know, the interesting part is that when we look at that rapid heating that happened the 9 times prior to this one in that 800,000 years, if people look at, you know, the causations of man, and I'm not saying at all that man doesn't pollute, because man does, but if you look at all the causes of the rapid heating cycles prior to this one, what caused them? It's amazing how you get crickets on that question. And then in that 80,000 years of cooling that followed every heating cycle, what caused the 80,000 years of cooling? Nobody seems to have an answer on that one either. Other than the scientists who put this information together say that the Earth cycles every 80 to 100,000 years. So that's kind of the thing. The other interesting thing is that the artifacts that are being found right now in the world that were previously buried in tons and tons of ice, as there's an interesting observation that a number of scientists have been commenting about this and saying that the very evidence that, as an example, a horse-drawn chariot exists at this level in the ice means that the Earth's temperature was such that that was on top of terra firma at one time, and it froze where it was at when the temperatures reversed and the cooling cycle came. Now that thing's sitting there. Because once something freezes in the ice, it doesn't drop down hundreds of feet from where it's at. It stays right where it was when it froze. Preserved right where it was. So the point is that the temperature of the planet in that day and in that time, and very possibly that was, who knows how many thousands of years ago. It's a very clear indication, and as many people like you scientists agree, a very clear indication that the Earth's temperature was then what it is now.
Now, we spewed a lot of information from here, so the takeaways are, look at both sides. Look at all the information. Both sides are correct. They may be extremely talking about it, but both sides are, in essence, correct. Just do your own research. Look at all of it together. Don't just rule things out because I don't feel like that. I feel like this is correct because I read it first. No, don't do that.
But if you look at 10% of the information and draw a conclusion from that, the information you looked at can still be factual, but you can very easily come to the wrong conclusion because you don't see the entirety of the picture. And there's so many different things that you have to look at with this. And, you know, when I had somebody telling me about global warming and then immediately took that piece of information, which we agreed on that, and immediately took that piece of information and pointed to a cause and effect thing that had next to nothing to do with what we were just talking about. And I'm going, you can't do that kind of stuff, because if you're not going to be interested in what the real causations are, and even when I mentioned about the 800,000 years of warming and cooling, one of the responses I got from one of the people I was talking to said, well, I don't care anything about what's been going on. All I care about is what's happening today. And I went, but today is a snapshot in time. And a long-time statistician in industry, I can tell you, I would look at even a simple problem going on in a manufacturing plant. I would look at first weeks and then months, and in some cases even years of data, so you could see where the trends are going. as somebody who follows analytics all the time online because of content that I have out there, I can tell you that these kinds of cycles repeat themselves. I can see very similar, although a percentage of growth, a nice percentage of growth that happens every year. But I can tell you that the July from this year to the July from 2017 to the July of 2016 to the July of 2015, its ratio of views and data that I've seen in my own content compared to the months either side of it are virtually identical. The season around the world is very cyclical, and it repeats itself. And the same is true of planet temperatures and all that. The cycles are just longer. There's just more years in between. But when I look at the 800,000 years of Earth's heating and cooling, I see an Earth that is in statistical control. So that's my take on global warming. That it is in fact happening, but it is just simply a trend, part of a trend that has happened 10 times over. And if you want to tell me that the only reason we're warming is because of man-made pollution and we're harming the environment, I won't argue with you at all that man pollutes and harms the environment. But now you need to tell me why the Earth warmed 9 times prior and what caused those things.
I like how we came to this issue. You know, we're talking about cars, and then now we talked about vocational schools beating up four-year colleges, and then went to logging, and now we're here.
And now we're going to go to Woodland, where my heart is with the citizens of Woodland this morning. They had a missing gentleman that they were looking for yesterday, and they found him this morning deceased. Apparently, he was the principal of one of the schools down there, is what I'm seeing. KTU is actually reporting on this. Sheriff Nelson's doing a live stream with them. But they did find this gentleman, and they did find him deceased. Natural causes, they believe. Some people are already saying it was probably due to the smoke out in the air. So
could be.
Anyway,
it's tough.
Well, then we are thinking of you this morning.
One last comment I want to make, because you touched on the smoke in the area. People, think about this. In just a few days' time, the wildfires that are burning around this country will put more pollution into the air than any man-made causes of pollution will for the entire rest of the year. And you go, wow, is the Earth ever going to be able to fix that? Yep, as soon as the fires are done and the rains come, you're going to see these beautiful coastlines again all around the Pacific Northwest, because
Take a look at the area of around Multnomah Falls that's burned. Some of it's already growing back.
We were there not long ago.
Yeah, we drove right through there.
Gorgeous there, didn't
everything.
It?
I mean, there was some burnt stuff. You guys don't get us wrong, but you know things were already starting to grow back, and you know it's just Kevin, who wants to admit that their policy for the last 24 years on something has been wrong?
No one.
And I think that's probably what we're seeing here is that we've got people that don't want to admit they've made some mistakes and that they could have been wrong on some things they've done, and now we're going to burn because of it.
What I want to say about that is some very ignorant, arrogant, and closed-minded people are offended about finding out they're wrong.
Yep.
Because truly intelligent people are okay with somebody coming along and saying, hey, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about that, and sharing with you what the right information is.
Right.
And that's true of us here on this broadcast. At any time we share something with you, you disagree with us, share with us what your disagreement is and what you believe the take on that information should be. Share it with us. We'll do the homework. We'll do the research, and be glad to change our view or our thought on a given piece of information based on the facts. Love that.
I just want to talk about the smoke for a second. If you have kids, if you have elderly, don't go outside unless you have to. The smoke, it may not seem like it affects you, but it affects you in the long run. All that stuff's going into your lungs and builds up. So don't go outside unless you actually have to. Stay inside. Be safe. Yeah. Just want to reiterate that.
From what I understand, it should. They're saying it will clear out a little bit starting tonight.
Saturday and Sunday should rain in the morning.
We'll get that. Well, we want to get this smoke out of here.
Yeah. We will welcome a few showers to help get the smoke out of the air. All right, well, that's going to be a wrap here on Northwest Digital News. We appreciate you joining us here, a special Thanks to Everett and Mayor Jensen, who joined us here in the beginning of the broadcast to talk about Unique Tin. And you can expect to see us over there on Saturday doing a live stream with these guys and covering a portion of their event. And Chris, one of your favorites is the Miss Unique Tin Pin.
Well, I have a friend that wants to throw her hat in the ring, and I hope she's watching. I sent her a text message to watch because she asked for this information yesterday or the other day, and that's where I got the idea of inviting Everett and the Unique Tin guys on the show. And boy, I'm glad I did. We got some great information. And
Yeah, we did. That was
it's just and mainly I got to thank these guys for what they do, because this is something, like I said, every year that our area just loves.
So tomorrow we're going to be talking with Jody Summers, our health and nutrition contributor out of Northern California. She's got some great information to share with us. And we will also have a representative here from Extreme Machines. We thought she might be joining us today, but it looks like she had her days confused. That's okay. She's coming here on Thursday. And so we'll get a chance to talk about Extreme Machines as well, and expect to see us at Extreme Machines coming up on September 23rd, I believe is the date of that. So we'll post that information here for everybody to cut.
Now, if you're at Unique Tin, come say hi. Are we taking the van?
You'll see the van and the ship over there, and we'll be coming in on gate 6, somewhere in that location. So probably in the afternoon, early afternoon is when we'll come there, set up, and we'll carry a live stream from the location of the Unique.
Well, 2 years ago, I did live stream the pageant to one of the social sites. So maybe we'll try to do that again this year. We'll see. I heard right now, ladies, I hear right now there's only 4 entries. So if you guys have an opportunity to do this, they'll take you all the way up until the time that it starts. So show up and have your battle gear on.
Yeah. And along the lines of, if you think of Rosie the Riveter or any of those types of pinups that they did,
calendars.
throughout look those up. That's kind of the general theme of what they're talking about with the.
Oh, it's really awesome.
Teen pinup.
Yeah, you had girls out there one year that had it in I mean, it's just really neat. You guys, you should just go.
Yeah. All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you at Unique Tin on August 25th. That's Saturday, and of course, join us back here on the broadcast tomorrow for our health show, and again Friday for the round table. Well, that's going to do it here on Northwest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson. Until next time, take